morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Daily Word. I'm glad you could join me for our ongoing conversation and time together. You can tell this morning that I'm coming to you from Indian Lake. I'm from my camper here this morning. It was a rather chilly morning this morning. I wasn't honestly expecting it to be so chilly, but it's a beautiful day. So I'm glad you're joining me for our time together. And so today is Daily Word number 727 in this long string of conversations around Scripture. So I've chosen this morning this particular verse that comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Now we know that 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is the love chapter, and we read those first 11 verses that talk about love and are descriptive of how Paul calls us to love. And those words are powerful, and I suppose, we could share in that entire scripture and what it means for us. But then, at almost the end, there are 13 verses. At almost the end, we get to chapter 12. And chapter 12 says this: "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known." Interesting words given to us based on the rest of this scripture about love. And so I often read the love chapter at weddings. Now, it's really not a wedding chapter at all, but it really is descriptive about love. And if we were to take it on its whole, and it's called to love for us, then we would actually live differently. But to live in that kind of love that Paul describes is really pretty tough, isn't it? I mean, we don't always live it out the best that we could. But there is hope for us. And the hope, I think, for us in all of life lies in this particular verse that I've chosen for this morning. "For now we see in a mirror dimly." So all around us, as we live our lives, we look ourselves in the mirror. Sometimes we're probably satisfied. Sometimes we think we don't look very good, I'm sure. We look in the mirror, and the scripture says we look dimly because there is in us all of our lives to live. And we see dimly because it all hasn't been revealed to us in all of our lives. But then the scripture says, "But then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I am fully known." I always wonder, when is the then? And maybe for us, we've put off the then, thinking that we'll actually live fully and love fully and do all that God calls us to do when we've accomplished enough things in life. But I think we should be reminded in our lives that it's true. Now we know only in part. We don't see as clearly as we can. But I'm reminded for us that this is just God continuing to work in us and continuing to shape us and continuing to guide us. And that we really are by God fully known. And if we were to live our lives fully known, if we would trust that God knows us fully and live our lives in that kind of way, then we would begin to see more clearly what God intends for us. We would live more fully in the love that God intends for us, and we would move in ways that we don't understand yet. And that's the courageous thing. For now we see in a mirror dimly. It's true. We don't see all that it is that God's intended for us, but we're called to go, in spite of not seeing clearly. It's true that we know only in part, but we're called to still go and love and be God's people in spite of not knowing every single thing that we're called to. And that's the good news for us. That even though we look dimly and even though we don't know everything, God's continuing to push us to go and live our lives fully. And I think that's such good news for us as we live our lives, that we don't have to know everything and we don't have to see clearly ahead to follow and to live out God's call on us. And that's good news for us as we live our lives together. So, that's the word for today. It's a short word, but it's enough of a word for today. There will not be a daily word tomorrow. I actually have a video call that I have to be on, and it's going to take most of the morning, so there will not be a daily word tomorrow. But enjoy your holiday weekend as all that you accomplish. A reminder for St. Paul's folks, Sunday morning is Confirmation Sunday. We're going to confirm 4 young ladies into the circle of love that is St. Paul's United Church of Christ. Wear red if you have red. Wear red as we celebrate Pentecost. I encourage you to write them a note or a card, and there are boxes in the narthex that you can place those things. They are going to be worship leaders. We practiced the other night, and they are ready to go. They did an exceptional job. So hopefully you plan on joining us on Sunday morning at 10:15. So, know of God's love always that surrounds you. Know of my love for you. And I will plan to see you again on Tuesday morning. On Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day and a great weekend.